hear anything. Here we go. There I am. All right. So we've got another Masterverse unboxing. I just found this one today when I ran by Ross Dress for Less. And you can see like the Tila figure I got at Ross and the extra of the Viking He-Man and Barbarian Skeletor. She was only $3.99. Now, I'd seen that there were a few new things at Ross that had popped up since the last video that I did where I was talking about Tila. And it was this whole wave, which you can see had Zodak, which I reviewed just the other day, the two Netflix He-Man characters, He-Man and Skeletor, and Catra. And when I went by there today, I saw an extra Zodak. So I bought an extra Zodak because, I like I said, I kind of figured, if I got like an extra King Grayskull, I can make Zodak with a K with some of the Zodak parts. So that would be pretty cool. I just got to get an extra King Grayskull now. So there's my extra Zodak. So I did get the previous Zodak for full retail price at Walmart. So I don't feel too bad that, that I found a second one over there that I could buy for cheap. So I still got a good deal on. Together, I still got them for like almost half price a piece, if you look at it that way. So I don't feel too bad about paying full price for the other one. But Catra was one I was really excited about. So there was a Catra at the Walmart by my work for like the longest time. And I kept thinking to myself, I need to pick that up or it's going to disappear on me. But I don't really have the money right now. And, would always find something else. Like, even if I did have a little bit of money, well, I think I'd rather have this other thing. So I'm going to pick it up, some McFarlane figure or something like that. So I did miss out on that Catra because one day she was just gone. And never saw her again. So I was like, well, maybe I'll be able to find one on Walmart or on Amazon for cheap at some point. And, just kind of went on with my life. But when I saw that these were popping up at Ross Dress for Less, like the Tila and the other figures that I'd found, I had some hope. Maybe I can find Catra. So Catra is a character that I was not able to get in the Masters of the Universe Classics line. Never got around to getting her. So I was really happy to have this one. Much like She-Ra herself, I had the Bubble Power She-Ra from Classics, but I was never able to get, the kind of default, Filmation-looking She-Ra with that particular headdress and everything. So I was really happy when they had the Masterverse version of She-Ra, which I now have. So let's have a look at this packaging. And it's kind of the standard Masterverse packaging. Got the Princess of Power logo on there. There weren't too many villains in the Princess of Power line. I think maybe because they figured girls would rather have, the characters be friends and everything and didn't want to have too much of the good versus evil stuff in there. But the girls that they were aiming it at were girls that were already playing with He-Man figures. So clearly they liked the good versus evil conflict. But I think the villains that they had actually in the She-Ra line, I believe that, there was Catra, obviously, who was the main one, and Double Trouble, who was a double agent, and Castaspella, I think, was also a bad guy. So and when they did those characters in the Filmation series, I believe they were all members of the Horde in that version, since the Horde wound up being the villains. Since they didn't have too many villains in the actual She-Ra line, and they were also introducing this new subset of villains into the regular Masters of the Universe line called the Horde. Hey, why not promote them in the She-Ra cartoon and have them be the villains in that? Solves two of our problems right there. So since the Horde were the main villains, they wound up making Catra a member of the Horde. You can probably see the Horde emblem on her breastplate. Shows up a little bit better in the painting. By the way, these paintings are absolutely lovely. I know, like, all of these are supposed to have that sort of Frank Frazetta sort of influence to them, but I feel like it's much more palpable in these Catra paintings for whatever reason. especially this one reminds me a lot of the cover that Frazetta did for Vampirella #1. She's got that same sort of sway to her hips. She's got those nice, thick Frank Frazetta thighs. Very nice artwork. Not only does it remind me of Frank Frazetta himself, but it also just kind of reminds me of just Vampirella covers from the 1970s in general. So I really like this artwork. It's very cool. It's definitely worth showing off there. And of course, the cross-all artwork, the other figures of this assortment. I will not be buying the two Netflix figures. I have no interest in them. I did see the He-Man. Sorry, wrong hand. He-Man. It's like the opposite of looking in a mirror. Everything's like, this is the hand that's supposed to be on this side. So you can see Catra, like all the words and everything, they're all facing the right way. So I get kind of confused sometimes. Sorry, but yeah. So this He-Man figure, I did see him at Ross, but I don't have any interest in those Netflix figures because they're all those goofy proportions. And like I said before, if they'd have made like realistic versions of these costumes, like if it was proportioned like the regular He-Man figure, but he was just wearing that costume, then I might be interested. Like I wouldn't mind having this alternate costume version of He-Man and Skeletor, but with those weird proportions and they're just all cartoony looking, and I don't care. It's not my thing. I'm sorry. If you like those figures, good for you. I hope you enjoy them and add them to your collection. I hope you're happy with them when you get them, but it's just not my cup of tea, man. Sorry. I don't mean to cast aspersions on your personal taste if somebody likes those. So anyway, let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. It says Catra, jealous beauty. And of course, that was how she was billed on the original action figure packaging. Also, the original Catra figure looked completely different from this. She had more of a black and pink and silver color scheme. And you can see that Catra in this version has a mostly red color scheme with a purple cape. But yeah, the original one, I think, had a cool barbaric sort of look to it because she did have like a furry loincloth with a tail on it. She had a cat tail on her. And that was an actual fur loincloth, not like sculpted fur like what you're used to like He-Man having on his loincloth. Like they actually made her a soft goods furry loincloth. And I like the look of Catra just in general. I like the Filmation version like this is based on. And I liked that original figure. She kind of reminded me a little bit of Catwoman from Batman. And she's one of my favorite characters. So let's see. The cruel calculating force captain of the evil horde holds her hatred for She-Ra close to her heart. Using her trademark magic hat mask, Catra is a dangerous nemesis for the Princess of Power. She can shapeshift into a powerful panther, blast freeze fire beams to encase her enemies in ice, or even teleport. Her greatest power, however, is her cat-like cunning. Cross her if you dare. So yeah, like I think Catwoman was an obvious influence on this character. And she was in the original action figure line, as I said, she was not necessarily supposed to be a member of the Horde, but they just made her as such for the cartoon. You can see her cape is flowing around loosely in the package and not taped in. So thank you, Mattel, for not taping in her cape, because I hate that. So one of her hands had already come loose in the package, and it clattered to the floor when I took it out. So I made sure I found that. So we set that aside, and we might as well go ahead and pop out her other hand. So that first hand was her right hand. This is her left hand. You can see that she actually does have her fingernails painted in, which is a nice little detail, except for the alignment is just, I don't know if you can make that out. I can get it to focus. It's just barely off on her pointer finger. So unfortunate that is. And both the hands that she has like default on the figure have she has like open kind of scratchy claw hands. So that's nice. And then for her accessories, she has the shield, which this is looks pretty much like the way I remember the original Catra figure, her shield looking. And then we have this wand with a green gem on it. And this might be something from the Filmation cartoon that I just don't remember, because I haven't seen those in a long time. Most of the ones I had seen recently were the ones that He-Man guest starred on them, because I always like seeing He-Man and She-Ra team up. That was always fun. So there's been a lot made in recent years about She-Ra and the Princess of Power toy line being somewhat responsible for the death of the Masters of the Universe toy line. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Most of that seemed to have come from things that were said by the male people who worked on the Masters of the Universe line after the girls division, mostly women, had complained to Mattel upper management that the boys department, the people working on Masters of the Universe, and they were in fact working on a spin-off line that was targeted at girls, and the girls department was like, there's going to be girls toys, it should be the girls department making them. So they took that over real quick. I think there probably was some jealousy that He-Man had become the number one toy line at Mattel for a period, and they did not like the fact that Barbie had been supplanted especially by such a masculine energy. So yeah, I do think there was a little bit of jealousy going on both sides there, and I think that's probably why the guys who were working on Masters of the Universe kind of blamed She-Ra for the He-Man line tanking after that. Although I think that's an oversimplification. I think there were probably a lot of factors that figured into it. And I can only speak for myself as a child, but I actually really liked She-Ra. I liked watching the cartoon. I didn't have too many of the She-Ra toys because honestly, they were a little girly. I mean, I was a boy. I didn't really want to play with girly toys. This isn't sexism. This is just how boys' brains work. So it's not like I didn't like girls. I liked She-Ra as a character, just like I liked Teela or Evil Lynn or the Sorceress or any of the other female characters. Queen of Marlena I liked a lot. But I'm sorry. While I'm rambling, I'm taking these extra parts out of the Skeletor that I opened the other day. Figured I might as well get those parts out of the way. But I do remember that I bought the She-Ra figure and I was really happy with it. And then I got the Catra figure at some point. I was happy with her. I did like the character of Bo on the show, but I did not like the figure because I thought he looked kind of wussy. He was much smaller than the regular He-Man characters, and he just kind of looked like Ken. And I kind of figure if he looked like the character on the show and was more proportioned the way that the He-Man characters were proportioned, that would have been a figure I would have liked to have had. And probably a lot of other boys felt the same way, I'm sure. But I had She-Ra because I liked that character, and I had Catra because I liked that character. So I got a lot of affection for that classic toy version of Catra. And anytime they make a modern Catra figure, it's always based on the Filmation version. And like I said, this is a good design, and I like it. But I would like at some point to get like a Masterverse version of the vintage toy Catra. You can see her skirt got kind of bunched up in the package, so I'm going to have to try to loosen that up with a hairdryer. There's a lot of good detail to this figure. She, of course, has the Horde symbol on her breastplate. We can see that a little better now that it's out of the package. And she's even got like a little Hordak head on her belt. So Catra, even though she was the main villain of the toy line, wound up not being the main villain of the cartoon because Hordak would have been her boss on that. So she wound up being relegated to kind of a supporting henchman role for Hordak, unfortunately. And she couldn't even be like the number 2 henchman, because then we had Shadow Weaver, who was pretty much like the Evil Lynn to Hordak's Skeletor. So Shadow Weaver, I think, kind of stole a little bit of Catra's thunder. But here we can see all three of the Masterverse Horde characters that I have so far. There's all of them together. So hopefully I'll be able to get some more in the future. But she's got a nice flowing purple cape. It's made out of kind of like polyester knit material. It's not stretchy at all. It is a little sheer. It's a great, very vibrant purple color. Stands out very nicely against the red of the rest of her suit. She's got the mask up on her forehead like it usually was on the cartoon. And whenever she would pull the mask down over her face, she would turn into a purple panther. And this one, it looks like it's on like a little hinge. So yeah, it was kind of off track a little bit on mine. Let's have a closer look at that. Okay, so here's what I think they did, is that she's got like these slots. You take off the mask, she's got these slots on the side of her head. And man, what a head that is. She's got like some crazy eyebrows, and she looks a little bit like Mila Kunis. Michael Kelso! So yeah. So she's got these slots on the side of her head, so you should be able to push the mask down over her eyes like such, voila, just like on the show. And then once she has the mask on, she would transform into her panther mode. So I guess if you have a Panther figure, you can put Battle Cat's armor on that and pretend like it's if you have an extra Battle Cat and an extra Panther, you can just swap the parts around and kind of make like pretend. But yeah, I think that's a great looking head they got on her. And she does look like Mila Kunis. And we can see that she also has the purple nail polish on her little claw hands. So those are nice. And it did line up a lot better on this one than it did, at least on the other one. The one that was actually on the figure, well, neither one of these were on the figure, but the one that came out of the package, that was the left hand, and it looks like that one, it's a little out of alignment on the neither one of the gripping hands. I think they got the nails on there just right, but I do think the right hand is slightly better. I might try to repaint that myself at some point. So I'm going to take the right hand out, and I'm going to put the gripping hand in for her right hand so we can see what she looks like holding the wand. And if you look closely at the wand, you can see that it does have like some grip on the end of it here, like some ridges, where like obviously that's where the character is supposed to grip the wand. So let's go ahead and put that into her hand and see what she looks like. And there we go. Now, I know that the Classics Catra figure had a sword with like a cat emblem sculpted into the hilt. And I thought that one was really cool. So I'm kind of disappointed she doesn't come with a sword. But the wand isn't a bad accessory. And like I said, that might be something from a Filmation episode that I just don't remember very well. So her cape is removable if you want to take her cape off. It's on like a separate piece of plastic. And the collar, it doesn't fit very snugly around her neck, but I suppose if you have the head posed just right, it's going to kind of hold it in place anyway. But yeah, it's just like a separate collar. So it is removable if you want to take that off. She's got like a soft plastic skirt. And like I said, mine got a little warped in the packaging a little bit. Hopefully I can straighten it out. But you can see like this point here is actually kind of curled up, and it should be more curled down. See? But it keeps wanting to curl up. So I might hit that with the hairdryer later. And let's have a look with next to She-Ra. And basically I want to look her over and see what kind of parts that they share. And I'm looking at the upper arms and the lower arms. And it looks like they both share the entire arm. Even the gripping hand is the same. So they share the entire arm. The boots are the same. So that means these whole legs are all the same. And it might be the same legs, except for the boots that we have on Tila. They look the same to me anyway. So yeah, there are plenty of reused parts here. Now her entire torso is original. Skirt piece is original, but the arms and legs are the same as She-Ra. So that's the parts that were reused on this figure. I never mind the reuse of parts as long as, it's clever and it still looks good. I never really have a problem with that. So I'm not going to complain about that. I know some people might, but not me. So we can take her shield, and I'm pretty sure we can fit it in with just the clawed hand, so we don't have to have the actual gripping hand grip the shield, because the hand just fits into the shield strap like that just fine. So even though she doesn't come with the cool sword that I liked that the classics version had, she does have the classic Catra shield that the original figure came with. So that's probably like the most important accessory I figure she could have come with anyway, unless you count the mask as an accessory. But it's obviously, you're not supposed to actually remove the mask because you don't want to have those grooves showing in the side of her head. So that's, to me, that just counts as part of the figure and not actually the mask. So let's talk a little bit about her articulation. Of course, her head rotates from side to side, and you can make it rotate all the way around because even though she has this large ponytail piece, it's a pliable enough plastic that you can move it out of the way and still get her head into lots of cool poses with that. So that's not a problem at all. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder, although mine seems like it's a little gummy, so you gotta be careful with it. I'm sure that'll loosen up over time. I'm not too worried about it. Good range of motion to move them up like that. They move up about that far. Arms move down about that far. Of course, she has bicep soles, so her bicep rotates all the way around. She does have the double jointed elbows, although this one seems like it's a little stuck on the upper part of the joint. Let me see if I can kind of coax it a little bit. Maybe I can get it to move. It's too tight. I'm not gonna fool with it right now. But later on, I'll hit it with a hairdryer and see if I can get a little more, get it loosened up a little bit. This one seems pretty tight as well. But she does have the double jointed elbows, and since it is the same as the arms on She-Ra, I can go ahead and show you the range of motion on the elbows, because She-Ra should be loosened up enough, right? I mean her elbow. So, no, that elbow's still pretty tight. I guess I'll have to hit She-Ra with the hairdryer later. I guess I never turned around to that before. Oh, well, whatever. Let's move on. Oh, Teela. No, Teela's got different arms, so that doesn't matter. The Sorceress? Does she have the same arms? Maybe the same upper arms, but not the same lower arms. I don't even think it's the same upper arms, because the Sorceress has, like, not quite as much muscle definition as what Catra has and what She-Ra has. Probably more because they wanted She-Ra to have the muscle definition, and Catra just kind of wanted getting it by default. So let's move on to the rest of our articulation. Let's move past the arms then. So she's got this cool torso joint, so you can get her in lots of different poses like that. Pretty cool. Does she turn at the waist? She does indeed turn at the waist, right underneath the skirt. So, and then even with the skirt, she can do the splits, no problem. All right, that's cool. So how far up does her leg move? Yeah, that's where we run into some trouble, because, like the skirt is a softer, more pliable plastic, but it's still enough to kind of hinder her leg movement somewhat. So that's about as far up as her legs will move. She can't kick anybody in the head or anything like that, unless she kicks them in the head from the side. Then she can kick them in the head pretty awesome. Because, man, those are some good splits for a character with a rubber skirt, huh? That's pretty impressive. She does have the thigh cut, so of course the thigh will rotate all the way around at the top of that thigh cut. She does have the double jointed knees, which, again, that's a pretty tight knee, but I did manage to get it bent up all the way. So there she is with the full bent knee. That's the range of motion that you get there. She does have the boot cut, so the boot rotates all the way around mid-calf, so you got some good articulation there. And then she's got the cool rocker ankles, so those can move every which way as far as that goes. Toes can point up about that far and point down about that far. And like I said, I'm pretty sure these are just the same exact boots. I didn't really look at the feet before, but yeah, it's the same feet and everything. So she's got the same legs as She-Ra, but she's got red boots, and there's different paint details on there. So the paint details were actually details that were sculpted into the original She-Ra figure. So it's nice that they painted this stuff on this time, so then they could use these boots for different characters. Like I said, I never mind when they recycle parts as long as they're clever about it, and they were clever about it in this case. So I'm going to leave the gripping hand on her right hand, and that way she can hold her wand. And I'm going to leave the open hand on her left hand, so that way she can scratch people if she needs to, or she can still hold the shield. So I'm probably going to display her with both the wand and the shield. I'm pretty impressed with this figure. I'm happy with how she turned out. The sculpting is good. The paint is good. It's I like the head sculpt. She's got, like I said, she's got that kind of Mila Kunis sort of look to her. I feel like that kind of works for that character. Jealous beauty. So yeah, and here she is against She-Ra. So you can see what they look like together. So they I think on the newer series, they wound up being a couple at the end. So I guess, if you really want to, you can have them be a couple in this too. They're your toys. You can do whatever you want to with them, but I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna do this right now. This is not a show for kids, but we don't need to have the HLA on here either. So. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We've had a really good run of lots of female characters in this line, and I don't even have all of them. But it is nice that they've got a lot of these female characters represented. The Teela's had like at least 3 figures in this line. I need to get the Sorceress Teela. I think that figure is really cool. You got the Sorceress herself. You got She-Ra. You got Catra. You got Shadow Weaver over here. And there's another one I haven't opened yet. Isn't there? Huh? I was worried I wasn't going to find an Evil Lyn figure, but I wound up finding one for $10. So that's going to be an episode we got coming up. I don't know if it's going to be the next episode, but it will probably be the next Masterverse episode. I will say that much. But that's pretty much it for Catra. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff. It's my hand. All the fun YouTube stuff down below should be over on this end, I think. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Catra. What's your favorite figure of Catra? Maybe you prefer the vintage look and you're like me and you want to see that get an update one day. Maybe you're more of a fan of the Filmation look and always were disappointed that original figure didn't look like what she looked like on the cartoon. And you're just happy to have them do some modern versions that do look like they're on the cartoon. Personally, I thought she was a really good fit for the Evil Horde, even though in the toy line, she technically was not a member of the Horde. But she fit in perfectly with the cartoon, I think. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Goodbye.